Dr. Lyra Bell wasn't just a sexologist, she was a revolutionary. Her viral courses on orgasm control swept through high society circles like wildfire, preaching a gospel of strategic denial. According to Lyra, the modern woman was too giving, too eager to please. Why climax for him, she'd whisper through her mic, when you can make him beg for it. Her boutique therapy program, Power Switch, promised to transform submissive wives into doms of desire, without ever laying a finger on their partners. And it worked. Orgasms became currency. Compliance became addictive. Men crumbled. Marriages shifted. Lyra became a cult icon among elites, until one of them broke. One of her clients, emboldened by Lyra's doctrine, went too far. Her husband snapped. And the retaliation that followed, twisted, precise, and meticulously planned, would unravel everything Lyra built. He wasn't just out for revenge, he wanted to expose her, control her, humiliate her publicly. And his method? He used her own teachings, against her. This isn't a story about sex, it's a story about power, how far people will go to take it, and what happens when it turns into psychological warfare. So if you think you've heard it all, you haven't. Hit follow on your favorite platform and leave us a comment, because the next story might just change the way you see everything. Don't miss a single twisted turn. Chapter 1. The Doctrine of Denial. 3,000 words. Dr. Lyra Bell adjusted the collar of her silk blouse and stood center stage, her heels clicking in calculated rhythm against the polished wood floor. The lights overhead were warm and low, casting a sultry glow on the 100 women seated in the velvet chairs of the private seminar room in Manhattan. She didn't need to raise her voice. Her reputation did that for her. Pleasure, she began, is not a gift. It is a tool, a leash, a weapon. And you, my dear friends, have been handing it over like candy. A ripple of laughter and nodding swept through the room. Lyra smirked. These were her kind of women. Divorced financiers, bored trophy wives, socialites with dark secrets. They didn't want therapy. They wanted control. Lyra's course, Power Switch, was sold out for the next year. Her TikTok reels had millions of views, often stitched by influencers, mouthing her mantras. His climax is not your reward, it's your leverage. She taught her clients the art of psychological edging. Deny, reward. Deny again. Make him earn it. Through devotion, through obedience, through sacrifice. She wasn't promoting sex positivity, she was creating power addicts. Across town, Jason Parrish sat in silence at a bar with the same clip playing on his phone. The video showed his wife, Evelyn, laughing during one of Lyra's private seminars. She was mid-sentence, holding a glass of white wine, explaining how she withheld orgasms from him for months. It's incredible, she said. He started cleaning the house, texting during the day. I feel like I finally trained him. The camera panned to Lyra, clapping approvingly. Jason clenched his jaw. He recognized the expensive wallpaper. That was their master bedroom. He hadn't touched Evelyn in 6 weeks, not because he didn't try, but because every attempt was met with mysterious resistance. Cold lips, quick distractions, an invisible wall. Until now he thought it was stress. Now he realized he was part of a game. Back in her penthouse office, Lyra Bell poured herself a glass of elderflower gin and swiped through her encrypted client chat app. The group was buzzing. Dominatrix mom. Told my husband I'd think about it if he retiled the bathroom. Guess who just learned how to grout? Power Priya. He said he missed my touch. I told him orgasms are earned, not owed. He cried, then made me dinner. Lyra grinned. Perfect, she whispered. Her newest book deal was pending. A Netflix docuseries was in the works. She'd even been offered a seat on the Sexual Health Advisory Board at Columbia. But she was getting bored. She needed a case study, a subject, a man who thought he could outmaneuver the method. She didn't know Jason Parrish was already planning to be that man. Jason wasn't the kind of husband who needed control. He had been mild-mannered, kind, and fiercely loyal. But betrayal does strange things to stable men, especially when that betrayal comes not in the form of sex, but manipulated denial. He replayed the seminar tapes over and over, studied Lyra's doctrine like a religious text. He wasn't angry that Evelyn withheld sex. He was furious that she was trained to do it, that someone, turned intimacy into a leash and handed her the rope. So he created a new goal: turn Lyra's doctrine on itself. Jason began quietly reverse engineering Power Switch. He watched every seminar, read every blog, followed the client's subreddit. If orgasm denial created obedience in men, what would emotional denial do to a woman who thrived on worship? He built a fake online persona. Jordan Rhodes, a tech billionaire turned intimacy researcher. He followed Lyra, liked her posts, commented with restraint. She noticed. She always noticed powerful men. Within weeks, they were exchanging DMs. Lyra, most men are intimidated by my content. You seem intrigued. Jordan, I believe in the power of denial, but only when the teacher submits to her own method. That line sealed it. Lyra couldn't resist mystery or challenge. Their first meeting was at the Maritime Hotel, in a dimly lit private dining suite reserved for VIP guests. Lyra arrived in crimson, her signature color for power. Jordan, Jason in disguise, wore dark blue with a subtle gold cufflink. The psychology of status. Lyra smiled across the table. You're not what I expected. Jason sipped his wine. Neither are you. I thought the queen of denial would be harder to seduce. She cocked an eyebrow. Who says I'm seduced? He leaned in. Not yet. That night, nothing happened physically. But Lyra left the hotel burning with curiosity, and for once, she was the one left wanting. Jason's plan was simple. Flip the script. Withhold everything she wanted. Attention, validation, admiration, but deliver just enough to keep her chasing. In the beginning, it worked too well. Lyra found herself double texting, checking his social media, wondering why she felt powerless. By their third meeting, she confessed, I haven't felt this off balance since I started Power Switch. Jason smiled softly. Balance is overrated. The unraveling was subtle at first. Lyra's seminars grew slightly erratic. Her tone, once razor-sharp, took on an edge of insecurity. She stopped posting on TikTok for a week. Her followers noticed. Then came the tipping point. At a live Q&A in Miami, someone in the audience stood up during the open mic. It was Evelyn Parrish, Jason's wife. I want to ask about ethical manipulation, Evelyn said, voice steady. When does empowering women cross the line into emotional abuse? Lyra tried to smile. When there's no consent or clarity, of course. Evelyn didn't flinch. So if a therapist encouraged their clients to weaponize pleasure to control their spouses, what would you call that? Silence. Then someone clapped. Then another. Lyra's mask cracked. Backstage she got a text. Jordan, you taught them to play with fire. Did you think none of them would get burned? She stared at the screen, then realized something. She never gave Jordan her real number. Chapter 2. Hostage of her own game. 3,000 words. The walls of Lyra's penthouse office, once a temple to sensual power, now felt cold and hostile. The soft red hues and mirrored accents no longer reflected confidence. They echoed back her unraveling. She locked her phone, heart pounding. Jordan, whoever he truly was, had crossed an invisible line. Lyra wasn't afraid of stalkers. She'd dealt with obsessed fans, even blackmail attempts. But this was different. This man hadn't just infiltrated her life, he was dismantling her from the inside, quietly, intimately, as if she were a puppet in her own show. She paced. Then she did something she hadn't done in years. She called her lawyer. Jason sat in his converted basement workshop, formerly a wine cellar, now a digital command center. Screens displayed Lyra's social posts, news mentions, public speaking schedules, even camera feeds from a tiny device he had planted during their third meeting. Disguised as a lapel pin gift, he sipped bourbon and dragged a folder into a secure drive. Final play. It was time to take the leash from the leash maker. The plan began with visibility. Jason compiled a slick, anonymously edited video titled Orgasm Denial or Domestic Abuse. It featured stitched clips from Lyra's most extreme advice, client testimonials, and a chilling voiceover. She taught them to withhold love, to make men beg, to break them into obedience. But what happens when the script flips? It went live at midnight. By noon it had 1.4 million views. Lyra's name trended on Twitter next to Orgasm Cult. Within 48 hours, Lyra was buried in PR fire. Former clients leaked emails. A whistleblower therapist claimed Lyra altered session notes, and then the final blow, someone sent a full transcript of her private client forums to BuzzFeed. They published it under the headline, "Inside the Pleasure Cult, How Dr. Lyra Bell Weaponized Sex Against Men." Lyra's face went pale. On page 5 was Evelyn's message. "My husband used to be warm, safe, gentle. Now I barely recognize him, and I'm scared. Not because he hits me, but because he learned to manipulate me the same way I did him, and I think he likes it more than I ever did." Lyra's agent called in a panic. Her book deal was frozen. Netflix pulled out. The university rescinded her advisory position, and worst of all, clients were fleeing. One by one, her Power Switch alumni deleted their accounts, leaving behind echoes of guilt. She needed control. But everywhere she turned, someone had already anticipated her move. Then she found it, the final insult. A new app, trending in the intimacy coaching world. Control Shift, tagline. Use her rules against her. Jason's name wasn't on it, but the interface, the language, it was unmistakably hers, twisted like a mirror reflection. It included video lessons from an anonymous narrator whose voice was deep and measured. In one clip, the voice said, "She thinks denial controls men, but what controls her is being desired and then discarded. Take the power back. Make her want to beg, and never give her the chance." Lyra's hands shook. She knew that voice. Jason's final move wasn't digital. It was deeply, painfully human. He waited outside her Upper West Side office, dressed cleanly, respectfully, with no sign of aggression. He handed her a sealed manila envelope with a handwritten note. "It's your turn to feel powerless. Come to 432 Warren Street. No press, no staff. Just you. Let's talk about consent." The irony was suffocating. Lyra should have gone to the police. Instead, curiosity betrayed her. Or maybe guilt did. The warehouse at 432 Warren Street was abandoned, but the interior had been transformed. Warm lighting, silk curtains, a lounge chair and 2 cameras positioned at subtle angles. A sound recorder in the corner. Everything mirrored Lyra's own seminar setup, except now she was the subject. Jason entered, casual and calm, wearing wire-rimmed glasses and no disguise. Lyra stiffened. "So it was you?" He nodded. "Your doctrine fascinated me. It just needed correction?" She scoffed. "You want revenge?" "No," he said. "I want understanding. You taught people how to train others like dogs. Through sexual starvation. You built an empire on withholding love. And now, you're going to explain why." Jason hit record. Lyra laughed bitterly. "You're going to interrogate me. That's your grand plan." He sat across from her. "No, I'm going to offer you a choice. Either you admit on camera that your teachings encouraged emotional abuse disguised as empowerment, or I release every message you ever sent to your clients." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "You hacked me?" He didn't answer. She paced like a caged animal. "Do you have any idea how many women I helped? How many marriages I saved?" Jason's voice stayed level. "And how many men you destroyed?" A long pause. Then she whispered, "They destroyed themselves." Jason smiled sadly. "Exactly what I expected you to say." He stood. "Interview's over. But the broadcast? Just beginning." He reached for the cameras. "Wait," Lyra snapped. "You want a confession? Fine. I crossed a line. But so did they. So did your wife. So did you." Jason turned, eyes cold. "I didn't come here for balance. I came for dominance." 2 days later, a full-length interview video hit the underground forums. Not the polished confession Jason expected, but a highly edited version, clearly leaked by Lyra's assistant before she could scrub it. The clip went viral. In it, Lyra says, "If denial makes me abusive, then what do you call men who weaponize silence? Who withdraw affection? Who make women beg for the bare minimum? I didn't start a war. I just gave women a new weapon in one that's already been raging." The internet exploded. Half praised her as a martyr. The other half called her a sociopath. But Jason had one final move. He uploaded the full video, unedited, including her silence when he asked if she felt guilty for the women whose marriages collapsed, including her smirk when he described his emotional collapse, including the moment she whispered, "You think I didn't know you were Jason? I chose to play your game." Jason watched the views roll in, hundreds of thousands, millions, but the victory felt hollow, because Evelyn had already left him. She watched both versions of the video and realized she didn't want to be with either of them. Not the man she manipulated, not the man who weaponized pain in return. She moved out the following weekend, left a note. "You and Lyra are the same. Two addicts fighting for control. I just want peace." Jason never contacted her again. As for Lyra, she rebranded. No longer a sexologist, now a writer, podcaster, and provocateur. Her new series, The Orgasm Hostage, Why We All Play Games. She told the world about Jason. She admitted to parts of the manipulation, but she also told her side. And the world, predictably, ate it up. Years later, a professor would cite the scandal in a gender psychology textbook. A single quote from Jason was printed on the first page. "Power doesn't corrupt, it seduces, and the real danger is thinking you're immune to it."